Well, welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordan here.
Episode 35.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool number for some reason.
I guess not even. It's not even 35. It's okay to not be okay.
Yep.
I'm excited for this one.
It's
this is
okay
like your
to
life
not be
mantra.
okay. Yeah, it kind of is.
I feel like I know you didn't coin it. I'm not going to even claim that. But I feel like you've been saying it before it was cool to say.
Yeah.
Say it a long time.
Yeah, I have. Probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about this. What it's going to be.
Did you have an awesome weekend?
Oh, my gosh.
It was Father's Day this past weekend. If you're listening.
Happy Father's Day to me.
Happy
It
Father's
was
Day.
awesome. This is the best one I've
you.
ever had.
You called it, first of all, it wasn't just a day. This was...
It's a weekend. It's a weekend.
You called it Man Weekend.
Yeah, it's just celebrate men all weekend.
Just men.
And we did
everywhere.
a lot of man stuff.
You did a lot of man stuff. You had the boys.
Oh,
what
man,
are
we did
all the
so-
man things you did? You did.
So I got, as you know, because you helped get this for me from the boys, an outdoor like grill, like a grill grate. This isn't like a grill; it's like a grate that you cook over an open fire.
Yeah, you've been wanting to open fire grilling.
Yeah,
That's been
so I got
an
this
interest.
book about cooking food over an open fire. It's just so cool. It's just kind of like the one way that we prepare food, that everybody prepares food all around the world. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just awesome. So we did a bunch of that at the farm, grilled
Floated
up,
the creek.
Took every year I take my dad's favorite hobby is kayaking. So the boys and I take him kayaking on Father's Day every year, which is really for him, but it's also for me because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I couldn't go this year. I've gone other years.
Yeah.
My core. I don't know if you guys know.
It's not working.
It's just a little
Different.
It's a little obstructed.
So, yeah, we did that. Went out to eat for Mexican last night. I mean, it was just an awesome weekend, and I'm so grateful. I love being a dad. We've talked about this on the podcast because I get the question all the time now that, I'm older and I'm having a baby. I'm at my oldest and the youngest will be 20 years apart.
Yes.
2 decades, right?
Yes.
But I'm so excited about it. And I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, that being a dad, I can go all the way back to when I was a kid, when I can remember some of my first thoughts and ideas about life. Being a dad is the first thing I ever knew I wanted to be.
Aw.
Right?
Really, when you were little?
Oh, yeah. I knew I wanted to be a dad one day.
Aw.
And so of all the other fun and cool things that I've been allowed to do in my life, this is by far my favorite, is being a dad. And I can't wait to start it again.
Aw. Yeah, no, you're a great dad, and I'm super excited for you to also experience what being a dad is like to a girl.
I know.
Not that I know what being
I'm
a dad
in
is
for
like,
it.
but I'm a girl who's very close to my dad, and I know it's a very special relationship.
No, and you have a great dad. And my best role model, and my own dad, I have a sister. My dad is a great girl dad as well, but your dad is an amazing girl dad. And I wrote that on your mom's Instagram. She put a post up about your dad, and I was like, yeah, that dude set the bar high for me, like really high.
He did.
And I've told him that publicly and privately that, if I ever wondered or needed to know what it looked like to love you, all I had to do is watch him.
Aw.
Because he loves you well.
He does. He
Really
he loves his kids, but he's a great dad. And I didn't get to see him this year because I'm grounded from traveling now. But yeah,
Do you feel trapped that you can't travel or go anywhere?
It's a little weird. We've talked about our vacation. Normally, like, we're big beach summer vacationers. We will find any excuse to get to the beach. And this year, like, we had 2 weeks off. We're like, oh, we'll just, pop down to wherever for a few days. Nope. So I don't like that part. I don't like being told I can't go places.
You don't like being told much of anything.
Probably true. But like, in the summer when you're like, everyone else is going on vacations and you're just like itching.
Yeah.
I don't get to go. You and the boys have a lake vacation coming up, which is going to be so fun. But even that one, I'm sitting out. So it's just like, that's okay.
know.
It's
I'm
okay. It's
sorry.
a season.
It's a short season, and the reward at the end of it is huge.
True.
I mean, hopefully she's not huge, but
The reward
normal
is
size.
massive.
We want to be a normal size little girl.
We'll see. Oh man. Well, happy Father's Day.
Thank you. It really was. I'm sorry if I seem distracted. I just have all these memories of thinking back over the this past weekend. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Also, I'm distracted because this cat. And you can now see the cat's actually behind me, and so you can see if you're watching on YouTube. We're still trying to train our cat to keep him inside, and it's a disaster. And there's something about every time we start this podcast, he's been walking between my legs. He jumped up on the side table that my mic's attached to. Now he's on the couch right behind me.
Just like
He's just like
staring.
He wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, he does. That's okay. Hopefully he's quiet.
He will.
Oh
Tighten
man.
and be
All right.
quiet.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a phrase, as you already kind of referenced, that I said for a long time in the church that I started. I don't know how long ago that was now, 17 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea of it's okay to not be okay, and because I felt like we had to normalize in the church that you didn't have to be at a certain place at a certain time in your journey, that we're all on a journey, and wherever you are right now, it's okay for you to be there.
Right.
It's okay to not be okay. And so I wanted to help create environments where people could just be real and honest. And these days you hear that phrase in lots of churches. Back then it was a pretty novel thing, a new idea, but now you hear it all the time. It's okay to not be okay. And I see that on church logos and church walls everywhere.
Even like non-church.
Yeah.
Like I see it on Instagram everywhere. It's like even just like in the movement of mental health, like it's okay to, be in certain, maybe you're depressed, maybe, whatever it is. But yeah, it's kind of spread everywhere. I feel like
it has. And like most little phrases like that, sometimes people know what that means and know how to actually create that environment. And sometimes it's just words. Yeah. And I saw something the other day. This kind of rubbed me the wrong way. No offense to this church. There's probably a lot of churches that have now said this, but they added to the phrase. So they'll say it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there. And I don't like that. And I'll tell you why I don't like that. And I just think it's a load of crap, to be honest with you, because what that essentially is saying is that there's healthy and there's unhealthy, there's broken and there's fixed, there's good people and there's bad people. And the other day I read this quote, it floored me, and it's kind of what inspired this whole podcast. But the quote said this, it's from a lady, I can't even pronounce her name, or I would. It's like Resma Manikim, something like that.
That was a
Maybe.
good shot.
I think I might have nailed that on accident, but this is what she wrote. I thought this was great. It said, in today's America, we tend to think of healing as something binary. Either we're broken or we're healed from that brokenness. But that's not how healing operates, and it's almost never how human growth works. More often, healing and growth take place on a continuum with innumerable points between utter brokenness and total health.
So true.
I was like, yes.
So true.
That is so true. And because when you look at healing as it's binary, again, you're either broken or you're healed. You're okay or you're not okay. And I think what that does then is it forces people to project that they're a lot healthier than they actually are. Because what your ego is always going to do, if there's only two categories, healthy, not healthy, right? Okay, not okay, the ego is always going to want to protect itself and say, well, I'm okay.
Especially in the church.
Right. I'm okay. I'm healthy, right? And you're going to project that. And then once you make that decision, here's what happens. Once, you side with the ego of I'm okay or I'm healthy, I'm good. What then happens is you intuitively know you're not. So what you have to do is, I love this phrase, you're going to redirect your eyes to somebody else's paper. You're going to compare yourself to them, and you're going to find somebody out there that is a lot more broken than you currently are. And you're going to say, well, look at them. That's broken. That's unhealthy. Me, I'm good.
And then the domino effect happens.
And then, it always is going to lead to judging others. What's so interesting to me, everything that I can understand from Scripture, so if you come from a Christian background and, have grown up kind of hearing stories from the Bible and such, everything I can tell is that all God appears to want from us is honesty and humility. That's it. Honesty and humility. So, there's a couple stories that Jesus told that, for me, it's so obvious. Prodigal Son would be one. We've talked about that on the podcast before. It's my favorite story in the Bible, where the son returns back after blowing all of his dad's money, and the dad runs to him and welcomes him home. And then there's a confrontation between the prodigal son and the elder brother, who, by all standards, was the good one. Right? But in this story, it gets flipped. And the one that's really honored in the story is the one that appears to get it all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because it wasn't about getting it all right. It was about honesty and humility, which is what the prodigal son had. He said, listen, I messed up. I screwed up. I'm not okay, right? And there's another story that Jesus tells just a couple chapters later in the book of Luke about a tax collector and a Pharisee. And the Pharisee is like this religious leader type person who says this prayer in front of everybody about, he thanks God that he's not like other people and he's not like the robbers and the evildoers and adulterers or even like the tax collector. And he talks about how good he is at fasting and all his spiritual disciplines, right? And then this tax collector stood at a distance and he just prayed this very simple prayer. It said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And what Jesus says at the end of the story is, I tell you, this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God, talking about the tax collector who just said this simple prayer, I'm a sinner, messed up. And I love those two stories because in each story, the one who did wrong ends up being right simply because he's honest and he's humble about it. Like that's ultimately what God wants. The one who is formally right ends up being terribly wrong because he's proud of himself and his own performance. And so I don't know how we've been able to miss this point that ultimately that's what God's looking for is just humility and honesty. And I suspect the reason we've missed the point is because, again, our ego wants to think well of itself and deny that we all still have work to do.
Mm-hmm. So like you were saying earlier, the whole quote of it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there. Like saying it's not okay to stay there means that you can't be in this ever present state of like we're never going to be fully healed or
Right.
like
That's what I'm saying. That's when you add on to that statement, essentially what you're saying is there's good and bad. There's a good person, there's a bad person, there's a healthy person, there's an unhealthy person. When we're all in healing our whole life, and the moment you think all of a sudden you've got it all together,
mm-hmm.
right? First of all, the only way you're going to think that is by comparing yourself to somebody else, because we all know, like when we're really honest with ourselves, we don't have it all together.
Yeah.
So it has to be okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
So that's,
okay.
So I don't know. I think the only thing most of us need when it comes to growth is humility to know that there's a need for growth.
Yeah.
That's all we need. That's it. That's the bottom line is we have to have the humility to know that we need growth. If you don't have that, you're not growing.
And yeah, I just think about the amount of health we could see in the church if everyone had that mentality that we're all on this evolution of growth and all on this evolution of like healing and progress, and that we're never there. We're never going to be there. But like, I think you're right. It's almost like that first quote to me makes it immediately sound like it's not okay to not be okay. 'Cause you're telling me that it's not okay to stay there. So somehow like you're rising yourself over me in an immediate quote. I don't know. I love if we could all be in that mental space of knowing everyone's working on something, and everyone's struggling with something.
Yeah. And I listen, whatever issues you're trying to work through, I hope there is growth. I hope there is transformation.
Absolutely.
I hope
Yeah.
you don't stay at rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, though, just because you get growth in one area of your life, it's like spinning plates. It's
Right. It doesn't mean to sit stagnant in an unhealthy place. Like that's totally different.
I made it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So if I could, I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to go on this rant. Now, maybe regret it. We'll delete it if we have to delete it. But I just think I'm going to pick on the Christian church for a minute because that's my background. So I feel like I can. Right? I'm not going to pick on any other world religions or spiritual movements or anything. But I just think if I could pick on the Christian church for a minute, that I think most people in the Christian church learned at some point that they have to pretend like they have it all together. Now, in the church, one thing we are good about is like we'll say it's okay to not be okay before you become a part of the church, right? So before you become a part of the church and I'm going to put this in quotation marks, before you get saved, right? You can sell drugs, you can kill people, you can beat your wife or your husband or whatever. In fact, the worse, the better, as long as it happened pre you coming to the church, right? And I mean, we will make you the freaking poster boy, poster girl based on how bad you were, right, before you came to church. So we're cool with that. But then there's this idea once you're in the church, and this is usually an unspoken expectation, right? Nobody's going to stand up there and probably say this. Well, some would, but for the most part, it's an unspoken expectation that once you're a part of the church, once you're in the church, once you're a Christian, don't be a pain, don't ask questions, don't cry out for help, don't make us look bad. Pretend if you have to pretend, fake it if you have to fake it. But you're a Christian now, and you better have your crap together. Mm-hmm. You gonna make me delete it?
No, I won't make you delete it. I will. But what I'm thinking is, this is not every church. This is not every leader, but it is very, very common.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm not. Listen, I still believe that there's nothing more fantastic than when the church is healthy.
Yes.
And creates environments where it's okay to not be okay.
You're saying unhealth, yeah.
You know, like I that's a beautiful thing. But let's also be honest, the church, and this would be true of every world religion, is made up of people, broken human people. And so or as an organization, we just don't always get it right.
And also don't know what to do with the brokenness.
No.
You don't know what to do with that. Like if, your top volunteer is going through a divorce because he's been on drugs and had an affair and all these things, like you then have to the church has to somehow reason that or come, like, I don't know.
He was never a Christian in the first place, or he wouldn't have done, and then we start explaining things away. Again, my point is somehow we have communicated this message that, again, pretend if you have to pretend, fake if you have to fake, but don't be real and honest about the fact that you're still a messed up human. Mm. Christians tend to have very little ability to carry the idea for the need of ongoing transformation. Right?
Yeah.
We tend to think that once you've become a Christian,
you get to this pinnacle,
you've been saved, you're transformed, you're not going to struggle with any of that stuff anymore.
Now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think it's much easier to see things and people as all good or as all bad rather than the reality that we're all somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think this is a constant dilemma for the church. And, and it probably always will be, again, because we're human people with egos and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I'd like to see us make more progress in this area.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think there have been times where I've even experienced, like, either whether it's on Instagram or just people I know or hearing it from a stage, talking about, like, they say the words, it's okay to not be okay, mm-hmm. right? Or they say we're all broken, or they say we're all, like, struggling, but then there's no reinforcement of that. And I think that's the part that we're talking about is, like, it's that humility and honesty of both being humble enough to acknowledge it and know that we're all in that spot, and honest enough to say that we actually are, not just, oh yeah, we're all broken, but then you turn around and you notice that the one guy that just went through a divorce is no longer able to volunteer on the greeting team. Like, it's just, I don't know. And again, this is not every church, this is not every leader, but the unhealth in the church often shows its face through this.
Yeah. And again, it's always going to be a struggle, I think, but I'd like to see us get to a place, and I'd like to see us create, Jordan, the kind of community where the fact that people screw up is no surprise. Mm-hmm. No surprise at all. Yeah. In fact, that people screw up is just an opportunity for compassion and forgiveness.
Love.
Yes, because see, what I think, and this is the whole thing about growth, is we actually need conflicts. We need relationship difficulties. We actually need moral failures. Mm-hmm. We need defeats to our ego, or we'll have no way to ever spot and track the areas of our life where we need growth.
Yep.
Those things, right, that we often call failures, they are necessary mirrors mm-hmm. that we need to see the areas where we want to continue to grow to become the people that deep down inside we know God created us to be.
Yep. And we can't go through those things and actually grow from them if we can't be honest about them.
That's right. And it's a double whammy for those who would consider themselves to be leaders in religious movements.
It's a whole nother
It's a whole nother level of pressure of not feeling like it's okay to not be okay. But they're no different either. No different whatsoever. And so, So I'm going to double down on the statement, it's okay to not be okay. I think I've made that point.
Yep.
But I would expand it. I would not expand it in the way it's been expanded in most circles. I would say this, it's okay to not be okay. And it's also okay for others around me to not be okay.
Yeah.
And we often have that problem as well. Because if you don't believe it's okay for you to not be okay, you're not going to believe it's okay for the people around you to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important. There's another quote. Can I give you one more quote that I read that kind of tied into this? I can't pronounce this person's name either. Pima Codrum? I butchered that one. The first one, I somehow nailed that, but I butchered that one.
Pima.
Why is it that the best quotes come from people who can't even pronounce their names?
Never John Smith. All right, Pima.
No, or
Let's
Pete
hear
Wilson.
from Pima.
Okay. I think it's a she,
Okay.
wrote this. I just saw this the other day. Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Mm-hmm. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. And so that's why it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay for the others around me to not be okay. Because my relationship with the people around me is never healer and wounded.
Because that's an immediate, it's judgment, it's not compassion.
Right. No, it's for all of our relationships that we have, everybody around us, it's wounded to wounded. And when you see that, that's where true compassion kind of flows out. Everything else is more like pity and a hidden judgment, honestly.
Yeah, even if the judgment isn't explicitly stated, it's there. But think about your honesty about your struggles. You're going to be the most honest with somebody who you feel like is equally as broken, or at least communicates that. As soon as you position yourself as like, I'm going to help you, mm-hmm. like I'm up here, you're not going to get the honest truth. Yeah. You're not going to get what really this person needs. And I don't know. I love that idea of like compassion requires this mutual understanding that you're both a work in progress.
Yeah. You've heard me say this before about churches and pastors since, over these past 5 years. I've said, I'll never be a part of a church community where the pastor doesn't have a limp. Mm-hmm. Like I need to know like that he's been through some stuff, and that it's not this, they're the healer and we're all the wounded. It's we're all wounded. Yeah. And
I love that. Leaders with a limp.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So, man, I better stop. I'm going to get myself in more trouble than I already have. And I'm still not convinced that any of you guys will ever hear this, because she may make me delete it.
No, I think it's good. And I know your heart behind it. I think people who know you know your heart behind it. It's not this like hate the church statement. No, it's just about like how we improve the health of the community that we can establish through a church, and helping people all gather and understand that we're all work in progress.
And I don't want to pick on the Christian church either. My guess is that this happens in all religions to some degree. I'm just giving you my background and my knowledge point.
Yeah,
inside of that.
I think it's any institution that has any bit of moral code, right?
Probably, yeah.
Like I think that's true for school, for any church, for any sort of like communities. Anyway, I think it's really good and it's needed. And it's okay to not be okay. Yeah,
and I needed that reminder, because I've sensed lately a little judgmentalism from me about some people around me who I just see some brokenness in them. And the tendency for me lately has been to look at them as I'm the healer and they're the wounded. I'm okay and they're not okay. I need to be reminded it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay for them not to be okay. And I can't microwave transformation in their life. It doesn't happen that way. So there's got to be grace for that.
Yeah. And a lot of the people that like I feel convicted about like looking at, maybe they're still in the church or claim to be in the church, they actually have a ton of hurt that they're not able to or don't feel free to admit and talk through. So like there's a whole nother level of compassion there. Yeah. Where you just feel like, okay, Jordan, like stop pointing a finger and thinking that they're so judgmental and what a hypocrite for saying this. They're just in the same boat but going in a different direction. Like they have the hurt, they have the this baggage that they feel like they can't talk about honestly. And so like, in my brain, I'm like, they're the ones that are causing this. But then I'm also like, they're equally as in
That's
pain
right.
and
That's
equally
right.
as struggling with something they feel like they can't be honest with. So it's just that just shows you like how much of a domino effect all of this is. So I don't know. I wish we could all embody this and kumbaya together.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting
We're
there.
getting there. And again, at the end of the day, it has to start with us, right? I mean, and that's true of everybody listening to this. It starts with you.
Yeah.
And working on this in your own life, and then it just kind of multiplies out from there.
Yeah. It's good. Good talk.
It's a good talk.
It's a good talk. Share this, guys. Rate, subscribe if you enjoy it. As always, we have a little treat if you do give us a rating on iTunes. You can shoot us a picture of your rating on iTunes to info@theplaceforgood.com, and we'll shoot you a 30-day journal. It's called 30 Days of Good, just kind of to get your day on the good foot. So, yeah, we love that journal, and you guys have been continuing to email us. So we have it as long as you want it. So reach out to us at info@theplaceforgood.com, and we will get you that journal.
I love that. You're pretty.
Thanks. So are you.
You ready to have his baby?
Yes, I'm so ready. We are T- potentially 5 weeks. Could be less. We'll see.
Yes, let's go.
We'll see.
I'm ready to meet this baby.
Clock's ticking.
All right. Until then, hey, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he smile on you and be gracious to you. May he show you his favor and give you his peace.